Public speaking. Are you going to be fearful or confident? Let's work on your confidence. So my objectives today are just to kind of go over glossophobia, fight or flight, some symptoms, self-sabotage, and overcoming your fear. What is the fear of speaking? It's called glossophobia, and it is the number one fear that most people have. Over 75% of people would rather die than to speak in front of an audience. I've got a story. So, many years ago, I was on a committee and I was asked to present an award. There were about 500 people there and I had never spoken in front of an audience. Great. Here's my first shot. I was ready. I wrote my speech. I was dressed to the nines. I'd practiced and practiced and practiced. And the only thing standing between me and the stage were 500 people. No, the only thing standing between the stage and the audience was one person. The MC found my speech when I'd gotten up and gone to the bathroom. So when I came back, my words were gone. As I sat at my table and I was kind of looking around trying to find the paper, I heard him. I heard him reading word for word for word off of my paper. He was reading my speech. I thought I was going to die. And as my mind was racing, I heard him call my name. It was time for me to go on stage. And in my fear, I could not think of the words that I wanted to say, and the only thing I could do was say, "Congratulations," and literally run off stage. How truly embarrassing. And the MC didn't make anything better because when he stood back up, he said, "A drive-by speaker." And then they laughed. It seemed as though all 500 people were laughing at me. And that night, as I lay in my bed, just embarrassed from the evening's events, I vowed never, ever to let another person steal my words. So what happens when we are pushed to the brink? This is called fight or flight response. It is a physiological defense. It is a response to a perceived harmful situation. Our choices are to either run from the situation and work through the fear of it. And there's a third part, which is freeze, which just means you stop right in your tracks. And to put that into perspective, it's if you've ever seen an animal with its back up against a wall, it freezes. A squirrel running across the street when you're driving, it usually stops. It freezes and then makes the decision of which way to run. That is the freeze. So for this discussion post, I want you to tell me briefly, under 50 words, what's your flight or flight story? And then we're going to talk about it a little bit more in the discussion post. What happens to you when you're giving a speech? Again, under 50 words. And then I want you to think about and respond to, why are you more comfortable speaking from your chair than you are speaking in front of a group of people? So your discussion post for this will be 3 questions. What's your fight or flight story? What happens to you when you're giving a speech? And why are you more comfortable speaking from a chair? 50 words each, minimum. And then just respond to one of your peers with another 50 words. Self-sabotage. We all have fears. And the reason why we usually self-sabotage is the fear of failure. Sometimes it could be the thought that you can't make mistakes. And thirdly, really huge, is you feel that everyone needs to like you and your speech, which isn't always the case. The best way to wrap them all up is to say, we're afraid of judgment. How do you get through it? The biggest thing that I can advise is that you know your information. For all of your speeches in this class, you will have some time to prepare. Practice your speech a lot. Relax and breathe. If you ever get to a point where you just feel your hands shaking and your body starting to sweat, take a breath. Stop just for a moment. Collect yourself and move on. The more you practice, the better it gets. Immerse yourself in situations to speak. If you're considered an expert at something, like if you're a great sports person, see if you can talk to a younger generation of people who do the same sports. So if you're great at playing baseball and you know the game really well, see if you can schedule 15 minutes to talk to your local baseball team. Give them information. This type of practice prepares you to speak in various situations. And strategies to manage communication apprehension. Acknowledge your fears, but you also have to realize that you can get past them. Think about what you're going to say and the effect that you want to have on others. Act confident, even if you're scared. Being scared is normal. It's not a bad response, but just act confident through it. Visualize that you were already successful in what you're doing. Work on your intro so that your speech starts off strong. Studies show that if you come off and say something powerful right off the bat, you're more likely to get and keep people throughout the term of your speech. And then also work on the end of your speech so it ends on a strong note. Pause for a second when you're finished before returning to your seat. It's like the exclamation point at the end of a fantastic speech. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.